Sometimes one box isn't enough, and you need a box inside of your box to hold all the goodies of a big dungeon crawl. Hey everyone, it's Kylie at Games Unlimited, and in lieu of my usual 3 picks of the week, we've got something so big, so phenomenal, I think I need to devote an entire weekly episode to it, and that is the new Descent: Legends of the Dark. You notice I'm only holding the box lid here. That's because this game is so massive. It actually comes with a box full of minis inside of a box that you use to hold all of the awesome 3-dimensional terrain. So, this is not a 3rd edition of Descent. Descent is the venerable dungeon crawl world that Fantasy Flight's been doing for over 10 years now. There was a 1st edition, there was a 2nd edition, and now there's Legends of the Dark. This is a fully cooperative game that's app-assisted, so think Mansions of Madness 2nd edition, or Descent or Imperial Assault with their app, or the most recent Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. These are games where you play alongside an app. The app basically runs as the dungeon master for you. So it's going to tell you how to put the map tiles out there, where the monsters are going to go, and it's going to keep track of all the stats like hit points for the monsters and things like that. So this is not an app game. You're actually not telling the app everything that you're doing on the board. The app sort of tries to be unobtrusive, stay out of the way, so you can have all the action on this gorgeous 3-dimensional cardboard terrain that you're going to set up. So they've gone with an interesting mix of old and new in this game. It feels like old school because you've got these 3-dimensional cardboard pieces that you're punching out, putting together, making multi-levels, feeling something like Warhammer Quest or Hero Quest from the 90s. But that is played alongside with this very new digital enhancement in the form of the app. So this is for 1 to 4 players, and it is a dungeon crawl. And if you're not familiar with Descent, you're basically going to go on a campaign. You're going to take a group of heroes. They're going to go through different scenarios, fighting off baddies, having different objectives they need to do. You're going to unlock a storyline. You're going to level up your heroes. You're going to have choices, branching paths of where to go. And what's really neat is it also doesn't matter whether you win or lose a particular scenario. Losing a scenario doesn't make you have to do it over again or end the campaign right there. There are different consequences. If you lose a scenario, it might take the story in a different direction, take you to different adventures, different quests that you're going to have to do. If you win the scenario, likewise, usually something better happens. You might maybe get a better piece of gear or something, but it's going to advance the story in a different direction. Also, how you win. There might be multiple objectives in a particular scenario, and depending on which ones you achieve are going to take the story in a different direction. So this is great for fans of dungeon crawlers. If you like something like Gloomhaven, if you've played previous iterations of Descent, you kind of know what you're in for with this. Now this is a multi-hour game, so individual games are going to take 2 to 3 hours, and you're going to play multiple games over the course of a campaign. Now let me talk a little bit about some of the differences from previous iterations. One of the biggest, I think, is that you are not locked into a specific set of heroes or a specific player count. This was one of my biggest pet peeves with Journeys in Middle-earth and Descent 2nd Edition. When you start a campaign, you decide, am I playing 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, and you're stuck with that for the whole rest of the campaign. So if a player can't play in one particular evening, someone else is going to have to take control of that person's character. Not so with Descent: Legends of the Dark. Every time you start a new scenario, you're going to choose which heroes you want to take along. So maybe last time you played with 2 players, this time you've got 4 people over, totally fine. You're also not going to be attached to a particular hero. Some scenarios are going to require certain heroes to go on them. So you're going to bounce a little bit between the 6 different heroes that are in the game. Now, a couple of other changes, and I think really big improvements over the old systems in Descent. One, this is not as much of a dice-heavy game. It doesn't feel like a dice chucker. Just roll dice, hope to hit, do damage, kill things. It feels more like an action economy in the form of these fatigue tokens that you have. So you're going to have your character sheet, and you're going to have your weapon cards and your different abilities, and they're all double-sided. So as you take actions, you're going to build up fatigue, placing them on these different cards. But when you want to get rid of the fatigue, because once you're out of fatigue, you may not be able to do some of the special abilities you want, or if enemies or abilities end up making you take fatigue and you don't have any place to put them, you're going to take damage. So you can take an action to flip one of your cards over. So maybe it's your weapon card. Your weapon, actually, you have two weapons with you. Maybe you have a bow and a close range melee sword. It's going to be sleeved, double-sided. So once you've built up fatigue on one, maybe you're going to take an action to switch to the other. Or maybe you want to switch even though you don't have the fatigue built up because you need that weapon. Same thing with your skills. They're going to be a different skill on each side of the card. So it's really going to force you to have to think about, when do I use an action to flip something over? Do I need to do it because I want to get rid of the fatigue, or even the different status effects on it? So if you get poisoned, you get scarred, you get things like that. Anytime you flip a card, you get rid of all of the status effects and negative as well as positive things on there. So maybe you get a positive upgrade on a card, which means you don't want to flip it because you don't want to lose it. Those are just a couple of the really interesting things that this game is doing. I have had a ton of fun. I'm chomping at the bit to play more of it. I'm hoping to play my second scenario very, very soon. In between scenarios, you go to the city. You're going to be finding things as you go through the scenario, because all of this 3D terrain is interactable. You go up next to a tree. You click on the app. I want to spend an action searching the tree, climbing the tree, doing something. You'll find different components that are going to help you make potions and consumables, help you with recipes you have to upgrade your weapons and get new weapons. So there's all sorts of cool things to do. That is Descent 2nd Edition. We have this out in the store if you want to see it in the flesh, as it were, in the cardboard. So come on down, take a look at it. We would love to talk to you more about it. I'm Kylie at Games Unlimited, and as always, come take home a game and unbox some fun.